Set of Views on Air. Marcelo Martinez, your host, brings you a special guest, homegrown, Montgomery County, Walt Whitman, Matt Arrington. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much to make it by, especially with the rain outside. I mean, didn't stop you, so.
No, but it's a good day for it. It's
definitely
cozy,
a good
man.
day.
We're inside, it's chilling. It's good.
No, I've heard so many good things about you, and again, it's a pleasure to have you here, especially because we're both sports fans.
Yeah.
Football, soccer brings us together, right?
Absolutely.
That's the main reason why we're here today.
Yeah.
We're here today at Airpark Soccerplex. I mean, we're basically surrounded by the sport.
Yeah. Sitting right here on the field. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
My
it's
first
beautiful.
time stepping in here. It's a
Right?
nice spot.
What do you think about it?
It's great. I'm telling you, it's like I could see myself in younger years coming in here and knocking a ball around.
Hey, they have pickup soccer from 8 to 10, Monday to Friday. I believe they're doing Saturday and Sunday too. So if you want to come by for pickup soccer, hey, I'll come.
You'll come.
If you come.
Okay, fine. As long as we play on the same team. I'll have to dust my cleats
Hey,
off.
you gotta show me some moves, right?
Yeah, right.
I've heard about you. I mean, you've been through a very good journey.
Sure.
I mean, right now you're coaching U15, DC United Academy team. How's that going?
It's good. So I recently moved from a coaching role into a director's role.
That's amazing.
I spent the last year with the 15s and the 17s, and it was a really positive experience. I mean, both working with kids at that level. Some of the guys have gone on to sign professional contracts, which is
Congrats.
always really cool. But it's also nice to see even the other guys just progressing in life with whatever they're doing. Hopefully you've had a positive impact on them, you know?
I'm sure. I mean, congrats on that, on all your accomplishments so far. But, let's start with you growing up here in Montgomery County.
Sure.
I know that you went to Walt Whitman.
Mm-hmm.
How was it growing up? How did you become a fan of the sport?
How did I become a fan? I had I remember I had a babysitter when I was very little, I was told, who, before I could even walk, would hold my arms up and kind of walk me around the house, and I would just kick a soccer ball. So I think that was probably the earliest signs of some sort of passion being there or some connection to the sport. And then just over the years, I remember just any chance I could get to see a game. In those times, it was few and far between, just because there wasn't a lot of soccer on TV. MLS hadn't even started yet at that point. But you'd see World Cups, stuff like that. And I think my earliest memory of watching a soccer game was watching a Cameroon World Cup game in this side room of my house on this little white TV that was probably 6 inches by 6 inches, some tiny little TV. And I remember watching it and being like, man, Cameroon's jerseys are so cool. Just the
colors.
Red, the red, the yellow, the green. And so just little bits and pieces like that. And then,
was your father a fan or your mom? Or how was that soccer ball? How did that soccer ball end up right there at your house?
So my babysitter's from Ghana.
Wow.
And so she obviously had grown up with the sport and being massively popular in Ghana, but neither of my parents played. My mom was a track runner in school, and then my dad played football. He grew up in South Carolina. She grew up near Baltimore, Maryland, and so they didn't have any connection to sport whatsoever. Me playing was very much new to them. They learned the game as I learned the game.
But both athletes, so I'm sure that they definitely played a role in regards of you loving a sport. And that soccer ball was there. The Ghana lady that was taking care of you, hey, now you're here. You should really be thankful with her for real, because it's you have a track runner and then you have a football player in the house, and then I'm thinking around that time, soccer itself, football itself wasn't as big as it's getting now in our area. Again, you went to Walt Whitman school not too far from Gaithersburg.
Sure.
How was it growing up in the area, and how was it for you with with your friends that loved the sport like you? And what were you thinking about? Were you thinking about going pro in high school? How was Walt Whitman for you?
Yeah, so Whitman was a really, I would say, more of an eye-opening experience for me, just because at that point in time, I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. I'm 34 now, so coming into high school when I was 14, high school was still really a dominant force in the soccer world in the United States and in our area. Club was still strong, but everyone played high school. and academies hadn't really taken hold yet. And now like academies don't allow kids to play high school soccer and so on and so forth. So high school was still very strong at that point, and all the best players were playing in it. And being in a place like Walt Whitman, who's got now like 11, 12 state championships or something like that for boys soccer.
You were a part of the 2014 as the assistant coach, correct?
Yeah, as a coach, right?
Man, exactly. Congrats on that. That's huge. I saw that and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
2014 was about what, six years ago, 8 years ago now?
Seems like an eternity, but it wasn't that long ago. Early in my coaching career, it was cool to come back to the school and be a part of that. But
that's awesome.
Whitman's got like, even still now when I tell people I played there, like there's still people go, oh, Whitman, like they have a known program. So that was really important experience for me, like playing with older guys. Like I came into varsity as a sophomore, so you had juniors and seniors on the team who just like beat up on you every day. But like that's how you learn.
That's how you learn, exactly. So, I mean, you were put basically in a position where you felt like you were not a minority, but you were below.
Sure.
And you had to work your way up. It only made you stronger. It only made you want to do it even better than that.
Yeah. And
what position were you playing?
At that point in time, so when I was growing up, I usually played center back, sometimes defensive midfield. And at that point, that's what I was playing. I was center back at Whitman.
That's awesome. How far did you guys get, in your varsity days?
When I was playing, we made it to like a regional final, I believe, where we lost to Walter Johnson. Like
Johnson.
I can still like run through the whole game in my head. We played at Sherwood High School. And
how was it like? Tell me about that game.
It was just one of those games where like you had all the ball, you had all the chances.
Almost like that Barca and Bayern Munich game last week, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Where you're creating everything and just not able to score, and then they get one, and that's it.
It's tough to come out of that.
Yeah.
Especially if you've done all that. Sometimes it's like life, you're going through it. Everything's going well. You're just waiting for everything to just explode, and then something happens and it just
knocks everything off balance.
You have no choice but to just be like, whoa. Like, you ever seen Messi with his head down after defeat and the game still has like 30 minutes left? Mm-hmm. It's like, nah, you should put in the work and keep going, but sometimes you feel like defeated within that moment.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And it's hard to, especially as a player, especially as a young kid, to like have the perspective to kind of take a step back, take a deep breath, and realize like you still have work to do. There's still opportunity here. There's still a chance of
leadership comes into play too. I mean, your coach comes into play when it comes to that. I mean, your coach got to be, all right, one goal, get back, get your head ready. We got to keep going. Now, if you don't have the right leadership, it could be tougher. So, no, I totally get that. I bet that experience was definitely heartbreaking.
I still remember it now, so that should tell you plenty.
But you came back as an assistant coach in 2014, and you were able to, get that title of winning it, here in Maryland, which is huge. And I understand you went to George Mason University.
I did.
How was that? Did you play? I'm sure you were playing soccer as well.
Yeah. So I played there for 2 years. First year I redshirted, so basically, gives you an extra year to play more or less. You don't use up a year of eligibility. So then my second year as a sophomore, I started pretty much every game. Played all the time. Missed a couple due to injury, but spent 2 years there and basically took a step back after my sophomore year and just more or less decided I needed to change and wanted to do something different, seek out other opportunities.
What opportunities were you looking for?
My goal ultimately as a player was always, or not was always, but once I started kind of seeing the game more from like a global perspective and had more access to what was going on outside our borders, like I wanted to go play abroad. I wanted to go play wherever I could and just experience something different. So some opportunities popped up in Italy. So that's where I ended up.
Yeah, I did see that. Italy. How was Italy? I mean, Italy is like much different than the United States. I mean, much different than Montgomery County for sure. Yeah. And I know that you signed your first amateur contract with a club called Sao Paulo Ostiense. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
No, you're perfect.
How was that?
It was great, man. It was.
How was it feeling like, I'm about to sign a contract with, a club, a legit club in a different country.
Yeah, no, it was a feeling of like satisfaction and being proud, of course, but also like, okay, this is just the first step. Hopefully there's more to this and there's layers to this and I can keep progressing. But But, I think in all aspects of it, it was a massive learning experience for me, like not just on the field and understanding how they wanted to do things, how they viewed the game, the different tactics that came into play there, but also just like trying to manage a life in a different country where you don't speak the language, you don't know the culture, you don't know anyone. Like you have so many hours in the day that you have to like fill and function and actually like develop a life, which I think it's forgotten a lot when players go abroad. They think, oh, I just play and maybe I make a bunch of money and I'm pro and I take pictures and I'm on TV and it's like no. It's not very glamorous, and you have to figure out a life and have balance and all these things. So it was a learning experience both on and off the field.
And that comes into play with a lot of discipline, I bet. Sure. I mean, you talk about discipline, you think Ousmane Dembélé. Mm-hmm. He came from Dortmund and went to Barcelona. His first 5 years, he really didn't perform well. Why? Because of injuries. Sure. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to, to achieve the level where he's at now. Sure. So it does require a process for you to maintain at a whole different country, whole different environment. I mean, were you able to pick up some Italian?
Yeah, no, I learned a lot. I still keep up with it. I still speak it now. It was one of those things that when I left, I was like, I don't want to lose that. I've invested so much time and struggle in like trying to learn this language. And so once I learned it and I could converse and all that stuff, like I wanted to keep it.
So it's Italian, English, and do you know any other languages?
That's all I got.
That's all you got?
Really bad Spanish.
No. Well, at least you try. I mean, especially here in the DC metropolitan area.
It's important.
I mean, we have a lot of Latinos, Hispanics, a little bit of everything here. Yeah. And, when you know more than one language, I mean, Italian, sure, it comes in effect with a lot. I mean, you basically teach someone else something that they don't know. Like, you want to teach something, a little bit of Italian in the podcast right now? Maybe say, I like football.
Mi piace calcio.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I thought it was going to be football in there.
No.
Do it again one more time.
Mi piace calcio.
Yeah. Dude, you sound like you just belong over there.
Listen, man, I can just...
How long were you there for? I understand that after Sao Paulo, you went to Sociedad de Calcio Cecina. Mm-hmm. Did I say that right?
Cecchina. Yeah.
Now, how was that transition?
So that was a difficult transition because Cecchina was a step up from San Polo Ostiense, and it was outside. I was living in Rome. San Polo Ostiense was like one of the neighborhoods in Rome. Ostiense is a neighborhood
like
there.
A village.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like a local part of the town. And then Cecchina was a bit of a bigger club, like on the periphery of town, outside the main city. So I had to drive usually like an hour to get out there. And it was just a different mindset, a different level when you went there. I mean, we had guys on the team who one had been with Everton the year before, another one Birmingham City, Chievo Verona, Lazio, Roma, Fiorentina. We had a player on loan from Napoli. Like, I mean, these are like seriously high level players. So it was the club I was with before Ostiense was much more a community club. Guys were closer.
So like family almost.
Yeah, Cecchina was much more like, yo, I'm here to work, and outside of the hours of training, like, I'm out.
So it was just straightforward.
Yeah, it was much different. It was guys like trying to put food on the table, and like you were coming to take their job. And it was really an eye-opening experience. In the locker room, they were their best friend, but on the field, it was all business.
Yeah, they wanted to just outplay you.
Yeah,
you were basically just their enemy, even though you were their teammate.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cutthroat at that level.
Is that something you experience now day to day as a coach? When you see your players, competing against each other?
Yes and no. Because at least what I believe is like in the younger ages, we want to make sure the kids are all developing in what we think is a healthy environment, right? We want them to compete, of course. We want them to basically take or get what they earn. But we also want to make sure everyone's getting their opportunities and getting their chances and getting playing time. As they get older in the academy, just using DC for the example, like once you get into the 17s level, it's a bit more cutthroat because now it's more, okay, hey, listen, we have to prepare you for the jump to pro, whether it's Loudoun United in the USL or DC with the first team. And when you get there, like, it's going to be tough. And we want to make sure you're not experiencing that for the first time there. We want you to experience it here so we can support you through it and work through it with you and hopefully help you in your development. Because, yeah, when you get to that level, things change very quickly.
Guidance is definitely important, especially when you're coaching.
Sure.
After Italy, after experience in Sao Paulo and Cecina, you decide to coach.
Yeah, I mean, I basically I'd spent like 2.5 years in Italy and had been trying to get my citizenship, which would have helped me on a few different fronts in terms of signing contracts with professional teams, just based on rules they had there. And long story short, just got so frustrated with that process of not being able to get my citizenship in a timely fashion, where I was like, listen, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna try to pursue some other opportunities. And then I came back home for a bit to keep training, keep playing, and weigh out my options. And then took on a few injuries, which basically spread over the year of like a year and a half and 2 years, and eventually like reality hit where I was like, yo, you still got bills to pay and you gotta get a job. And so I was like, all right, maybe this dream is on hold or over, I don't know, but I want to do something where I can stay close to the game. And naturally it led to coaching.
It's amazing. That's great. I mean, you went through a storm.
Sure.
You had to make some tough calls, take some risks, and now you're here.
Yeah.
Coaching. How was that process of, okay, I need a coach?
It was...
what was your first coaching experience like?
It was a transition, man. I mean, I just started coaching like local rec teams, like teams in like MSI Classic, like our local...
OBGC? I heard you play with an OBGC.
Played with Olney, yeah.
That's cool, yeah. Down the street, Olney.
Exactly. Played with them for a bit growing up. But yeah, just coming into it, like working with just kids who are playing the classic level. So we're not talking about like national team players or potential pros or guys that were even going to play in college or something. Just kids who were like playing to enjoy the sport, which I think for me was probably a really good reset coming from this environment for the last 4 years of playing college Division I, where everyone is really high level and focused and serious about what they're doing, and then going to Italy and being in these environments where, like, again, guys are putting food on their table and you're in these more like high pressure environments, to then move into an environment where like I'm just coaching kids who are playing to have fun. You're like, all right, this is what it's all about. It was a good reset for me, which I think set a good foundation for what has become my coaching career now.
Once you did that, I also know that you were coaching at Howard University as an assistant for 5 years?
Yeah, so I was there for 5 years.
From jumping to coaching little kids and just for fun, making sure that everybody's having fun, and to making a jump back to, university.
Sure.
This time as a coach, how was that?
It was good. I needed that. I came to find out, and I seek that out. Basically, like the head coach, Philip Zhao, who had taken over there, he had considered me for the role when he had just been hired. He ended up going in a different direction with somebody else, and then about 6 months later, there was an opportunity to come in there and help out. So I contacted him. I was like, "Hey, listen, I don't want anything. I don't want any money. I don't want whatever. I just wanted to come in and get experience." To which he was really open to, and he's like, "Yeah, all right, come check things out." So that led to me being a volunteer assistant for 2 years, and then led to being a paid assistant for the 3 years following that. And for me, it was very much like having club soccer on one side and then college soccer on the other, and coaching those two environments.
So you were doing both.
Yeah, it gave me like
juggling.
that feel, right? It gave me that feel of like the club side being like development, make sure the kids enjoy and have fun and are learning, and then the college soccer piece was more like, all right, like we're out there to work and play and win games and compete. And so it kind of gave me that.
How were you putting that into schedule? How were you putting both of them into schedule?
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare because we were training at Howard at 7 a.m. every morning. So I'd be up at 5, out the door at 5:30, and then on the field by 6:30. And then in the evenings, I was coaching club. So coaching maybe a couple sessions each night, so I could be on the field from like 5 to 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Did you coach at Whitman before Howard, or did Howard lead you to Whitman?
So Whitman was before Howard. Yeah. Okay. So like one of the when I came back, I guess a few people got wind that I was back in the area. So the BCC girls varsity coach, who is a friend of a friend, this guy Rob Kurtz, who's a great guy. He contacted me. He's like, "Hey, the JV BCC girls shop is open. You want to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I need work and I want to get into coaching." So I agreed to work with him. And then Dave Green, who's the varsity coach at Whitman, who I played under on the boys' side, he then got wind that I was home, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, listen, JV boys job at Whitman is open. Would you be interested?" And I was like, man. I was like, "Yeah, but I already committed to Rob at BCC with the girls." And he was like, "Don't worry."
Another tough call.
No, I didn't have to make any decision because Dave Green operates in a different way. Dave Green was like, "I already spoke to Rob. I already told him you're going to work with us. He's okay with it." And I was like, "Okay, that makes my life easier." Like, he knew I wanted to be at Whitman if there was an opportunity. So I called Rob back and he's like, "Dave already called me. It's all good."
It's all good. No hard feelings.
No hard feelings. I still see Rob all the time, and we work closely at a local club.
No, it's great to maintain those people around, especially people, in the field that you're on. It's when you meet people like that, it makes your life easier in a way. Like that call, you could have just sat down and be like, "What do I do?"
Right.
And then it just comes into play, and it's magnificent. It's great. And so right after Whitman, you went to Howard.
I did. Yeah, it was pretty close. Yeah. I did 2 years at Whitman and then went right over to Howard. Yeah.
You also scouted for the Seattle Sounders, correct?
Yeah. That was while I was.
So you're a player, you're a coach.
A little bit of everything.
Now a scout. How was that? How was that like? I mean, I play FIFA and I'm scouting players here and there, but dang, how's that job like?
It was good, man. I enjoyed that piece. I really enjoy coaching, of course, but I enjoyed that scouting piece as well because it was nice in some regards to like be able to just go to a game and watch and not like be under the stress of like, what decisions do I make? Who do I change? Who do I start? What substitutions? How do we manage going up, going down? Like whatever. You could just go and watch. And there were certain guys that we at Seattle were tracking, guys that we liked, that we wanted to invite to this combine that we would host in Las Vegas every year. A few other MLS teams would come out and basically view the players that we had scouted. So like Columbus Crew would be there, Houston Dynamo, Toronto FC. Greg Berhalter would be out there all the time when he was the head coach for the Crew. He's obviously the head coach for the U.S. national team now.
So you've been around so many figures, man.
Yeah. Greg Berhalter, by the way, side note, he was like, you would go to these combines that the Sounders would host. And so they would bring the scouts out. It was like me and one other guy. I had the East Coast, he had the West Coast. And we were basically just like the sideshow. If one of these coaches saw a kid they liked at this combine, they would more or less like go to someone on the Sounders staff and be like, "Who's this kid?" And then the Sounders staff would turn to us and be like, "Tell us about this kid," because we were the one watching them and tracking them. So anyways, we were kind of like low on the totem pole. And all these staffs would walk in and they wouldn't even acknowledge you, pay attention to you. Greg Berhalter was the only guy, and I remember this day, who walked up and introduced himself. And he's like, "Hey, I'm Greg, by the way. Nice to meet you." And I was like, "Oh, wow, you're the first person to even say hello. Like, I'm Matt. Nice to meet you as well." Quick chat. And it was just like, wow, that's a nice, like, humble, honest guy. So that's my Greg Berhalter story. That's
awesome.
But that was a cool moment. But yeah, to answer your question, I enjoyed the scouting piece. I liked analyzing players. I liked tracking them, recognizing what their strengths were, what their weaknesses were, and how they might fit or how they might not, and then making a case for it.
What do you look for when you're scouting? Because I know with the coaching experience and with your experience as a player, scouting, what do you look for? What is your player like that you would definitely, bring on your team?
So there's always, you need to know the team you're scouting for, right? That's point number one, because for me, there's no use in having a conversation about who you think is good versus who I think is good, because your definition of good is vastly different probably than my definition is good. We just see the world differently. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you have a team, you're going to be looking for a certain type of player. If I have a team, I'm going to be looking for a certain type of player. So you need to understand, if I'm working for Seattle, I need to know how they play, what the positional profiles look like, what the system is, what the head coach wants, like where their needs are next year, who's out of contract, whatever. So what spaces you're filling and who might fit those gaps, right? So, it's not an easy question, but I would give you at least like the categories that I would basically look at players or judge players by, or like the obvious 4 that we talk about in soccer, which is technical, tactical, physical, and psychological. So technically, can they handle the ball? Do they have certain skills that stand out? Left-footed, right-footed, whatever. Tactically, do they understand their position? Do they play within their system will? Do they follow their job description? Do they make good decisions in certain moments of the game? Whatever. Physical, do they have any like attributes that stand out? Are they big, tall? Are they excessively fast? Are they slow? Are they strong? Are they weak? Whatever. Psychological, do they manage themselves well? Do they argue with the ref? Do they argue with their teammates? Are they positive? Are they negative? And then the last thing that I added, which was maybe wasn't unique to me, I don't know, but was basically what I listed as like important game moments. Like, did they respond well in important game moments? If there was a PK, did that player step up to take it? And did he do it confidently? Did he convert the penalty? Did this goalkeeper I'm tracking in a big moment make a big save? Did the center back I'm looking at, up 1-0 with 2 minutes left in the game and they're under siege and he's got to hold on and keep things together, was he able to keep the shutout, or did he foul someone that led to the goal? You know what I mean? So it's like judging players by that piece as well, which I thought was important.
No, totally understandable. I mean, football, soccer itself is such a tactical sport, and it's not just learning how to kick the ball, not just learning how to pass the ball, it's learning how to maintain yourself within the 90 plus minutes.
Yeah.
And psychologically, mentally, you got to be ready.
Yeah.
When you guys were doing well with Whitman and you guys were going against Walter Johnson, it wasn't the case.
No.
And as you get older, you learn and you're able to provide that to your, players.
Yeah.
You can tell them, hey, I was in this position before.
Right.
And you can only teach.
All these experiences stack up, you know what I mean? And then it's your job as a coach, not necessarily to tell players what to do, just to help guide them and help ask questions. And I don't think you necessarily also want to inundate them with, oh, what I used to do or what happened to me or when I was a player. Like, they don't care. But there are moments when you do need to pull on those experiences you had to maybe share with them, just to relate, let them know you've been there, or to pull from those experiences to maybe be like, hey, listen, I've been here before. And, maybe you should think about doing it this way. I think that's the point of them. Otherwise, they're wasted, right? Use them for something.
Yeah, they gotta be useful.
Yeah.
2 years scouting. What makes you decide? Okay, it's not scouting. I want to do coaching, and you land the U15 academy team with DC United.
So I was doing my U.S. Soccer Federation A license, and I was still at Howard at that point, and still working with Seattle, and basically was having one-on-one conversations during each meeting with my A license instructor, this guy, Jay Hoffman. He's a wonderful guy. And a lot of the questions were always like, do you feel like you're being challenged in the environment you're in? Do you feel like a change is necessary? What's next? And if there is something that's next, what is it? Like, where is it? And so we kept having more and more conversations about that. I think I was getting towards the end of my line at Howard, where I just felt I needed to change. And he started suggesting working in the academy environment. So at that point, it was called the U.S. Development Academy. That was the league. A couple big clubs in the area is playing in it, plus, DC United, all the MLS teams in the country. And so he made some suggestions about local clubs where he had connections and could help introduce me. And I was like, well, let's hold off on that. Like, if I'm going to make this change, I'm going to go after the MLS club in the area and try to go to the top first, not the local youth clubs competing in the same league. So he inspired me to send an email over to a guy who I had a connection with at DC, not someone I knew super well, but we'd coached against each other a few times, a guy by the name of Nate Kish. And he was basically like, yeah, let's grab coffee and have a conversation and see what makes sense. So Nate Kish and I went and grabbed coffee in DC one day. We talked about soccer, talked about the game, what he does, what I wanted to do. Led to a conversation with the academy director at that point, Dave Sanford. Did a couple of interviews, more or less, came out to some sessions, checked things out. And then, just a matter of time and a few more conversations led to me becoming an assistant for the 17s, which then in time led to a 15s head coaching role and so on and so forth. So, Yeah, that's how that one came about.
How are your 15-year-olds? How are they like? How do you deal with these 15-year-olds, especially nowadays, as a coach? I mean, you've been through what you've been through, and now you're basically taking a very good role. Mm-hmm. I mean, nation's capital.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's you have to understand like where the kids are coming from. I think first and foremost, and that they're all not the same, and that they're in a very interesting point in their lives. 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, where like a lot of stuff is changing, the world is changing, like they're in high school, and it's, we all remember those times and how crazy they were for you as a kid growing up. So you try to guide them, you try to create structures so that there's routine and there's schedule and there's discipline. But you also try to create structures where there's also freedom and they can express themselves and they can be themselves and they're encouraged to do that. So you have that balance. And I more or less think that's what kids need in general, albeit in a team environment, in an athletic environment. There needs to be that balance of structure and freedom. And, when I'm working with these kids, for example, that 15s group, they were immensely talented. Ended up going to like a national quarterfinal where we lost against New England Revolution in playoffs. But we had kids who just had so much talent. And when I came into the group, the issue was very clear that it's not like, oh, these kids need help to learn how to play. They need help to get better with the ball, or they need help to understand tactics. They needed help to work better as a group. They needed help to understand how to deal with failure, because the moment things got hard for them, everyone started getting at each other's throats. And I'm like, this is not a team. This is a bunch of individuals. And the sooner we can kind of implement those values and attack issues like that, the younger we can do that, the better off these kids are going to be. So that was job number one for me with that group, in my opinion. And so once we created like a good culture within the team where kids could trust each other and they could give each other criticism, even if it was difficult, and the other kid could accept it because they knew that this kid's not attacking me, he's trying to help me get better. Once we created an environment like that, then the team just took off.
It flows.
Yeah.
And I feel like I like to play soccer. I wasn't a professional. I was never on a team, to be honest. But when I play, Marcelo could tell you, I look to make everybody around me better.
Yeah.
Some may take it a certain way. Some would listen, and sometimes you will win, and sometimes it won't work.
Right.
On Tuesday I had a pickup game, and it was my first time back. And I played, the entire time. There was this one guy who was a little shaky, and I'm very vocal on the field, and I want to win.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's pickup. Competition is competition.
Sure.
I want to win. I want to score goals. I can see he's a little shaky, but I can see that he wants to help us. He wants to win, and he's in our team. So I kept pressuring him and like telling him, "Hey, get your head up. It's okay. Next time, be cool." Mm-hmm. There was this one play when I told him, get to the end, get to the corner, basically to the side, like Dembele gets, and I want you to wait there for the ball.
Yeah.
And as soon as we get the ball, it's gonna come to you. So I shout to the person who's gonna shoot, basically pass the ball. I'm like, "Hey, get him." Defense looks and he's open.
Yeah.
The ball goes to him. Somebody's running. He passes the ball and assists. Yeah. Beautiful assist, and it's a goal.
Yeah.
And I really didn't do any touch of the ball.
Sure.
It was more of like, "Hey,
just communicate.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
You could do something today." He was so happy. Like, he looked at me. He came to me, give me a high five.
Yeah.
I ended up having a hat trick. It was a great time. I mean, football brings
But that's what
joy.
It's all about.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's all about connection and
setting a good foundation.
Yeah, communication, working with each other, like all those things. And it sounds, I think even at like the highest levels, a lot of people would not even think about that. They would disregard that. But like it's just as important there as it is on a pickup field. Like that's why you play. You don't walk away from the sport after, however many years, and you stop playing and you look back and you think about, what trophies did I win? No, you think about like the people you played with, the connections you had, moments of adversity and stuff like that. So
it's like work itself. I work with Airpark Towing and Auto Repair. Shout out to Airpark Towing and Auto Repair. Airpark Auto Body. If you guys ever need an oil change, as simple as an oil change, tire change, whatever it may be, ever in a collision, God hope not, come to Airpark Auto Body in Gaithersburg. We'll be able to help you in every way possible. Arrington, you became a founder and director of your own training and development facility.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I heard you met Marcelo via Darren. He used to have what is it called? East Side. Uh-huh. And I heard you guys met through there. You were using a little bit of his rental space there, and which is great. I mean, you knew Airpark right away. I mean, you were right next to them.
Yeah, man.
How was that experience with Darren and also meeting Marcelo? Because Marcelo is an individual
it came from Alessandro Charla, who worked for me for a while with my company, who talks to everybody who will listen to him, as we well know. So if he walks you down the street, if you take even 2 seconds, you're like, "Oh man, how's the weather?" He'll start talking to you, and you're just like, "Yo, Ollie, can we move on, man? What's going on?" But that's just how he's wired. So the first chance he got to meet like Marcelo and his dad and family and stuff like that, he was already deeply tied into, well, what do you guys do? Where are you from? Are you Uruguay? Oh, you like soccer? Man, I like soccer. So it's like Ollie's your best friend in the first 5 minutes. So once Ollie made that connection with Darren at Eastside and then with Marcelo at Airpark, he told me about it because we were working with a team together at that point, and we wanted to get them into a gym setting because we're both big believers in strength and conditioning and how that can aid your development and help prevent injury. Darren had this gym. He allowed us to come and rent space and use it so we could implement this program. And then again, just through like mutual interests, Airpark being big fans of soccer, Marcelo and his family being big fans of soccer, like being right next door, like everybody just came together naturally.
And I also met Marcelo at that same facility, which is crazy. And, I came in there, soccer, small field. What more can you ask for, $5? And then you meet someone with the same name as yours. And it's like, you just click.
Soccer brings people together, man. That's what I'm talking about.
And it's one of the best persons, in the area, to be honest. I mean,
he's all right.
He could be sometimes, but it's the heart that Airpark has around it. It's I bring this into play because we're talking about a foundation. Mm-hmm. I work with Airpark, and when we're working together, when the flames are going up, and when we're getting calls from left to right, situations from left to right, and we have other situations like auto body, auto repair. The foundation that Airpark has is almost like a foundation you need to have to win.
Sure.
A soccer game. Yeah. Communication. Mm-hmm. Keeping it cool, keeping it calm. Earlier today we had a couple complications, but we're making it work.
Yeah. And
as long as we know that working together, anything can work out.
I think it's goes back to like what I said previously about coaching these kids, right? I mean, you want them to, if they end up being a pro someday, great, fantastic. But what you're ultimately trying to do is just prepare them for life, right? And you want them to be able to face adversity and to face difficulty so that when they face it at some point in time, they're prepared. They've been there before. They've seen it before. And I think that also comes from good leadership, right? If you're in a place, you're in an organization or a business or a team that has good leadership, then like when you have those moments of adversity where everyone's panicking and not knowing what to do, if you have someone who's like steady and in charge and organized and can say, hey, take a deep breath, this is what we need to do, this is the plan, it instills confidence in everybody, right? And allows you to execute your operation accordingly. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's for any business or anything in life, like it's so important.
Very important. Arrington Training and Development. Tell me about that. What made you decide to open that up? What is it about? What is your Instagram and all the information you can give? That way people who are listening, if they need some development, if they need some training, they can come to you.
So, I mean, that was, it was like a soccer coach, like falling into a business. I did not plan for that, but basically as I started coaching, other people started coming into the fray, wanted to hire myself to coach their kids or whatever it may be. I hit up a good friend of mine, Dennis Shart, who I'd grown up with and played with. And I was like, listen, man, I got more families coming wanting me to coach their teams, but there's only one of me. Like, I need help. Do you want to come and coach some teams and see where this thing goes? So he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So he came in and started coaching teams. It went from like 3 teams to 5 teams to 10 teams to 15 teams and a few more coaches. And then a few years later, it turned into, okay, well, let's try to develop this performance side of things as well, which led to us working with Darren at Eastside. And then led to us actually getting our own space in Rockville and developing that piece and having gym equipment, strength and conditioning work, a turf area for ball work, and like a guy on staff to help with any injuries and stuff like that. So it's evolved and it's progressed, but I'll say very honestly, I didn't go into this plan. It's just, again, maybe happened organically and one thing leads to the next and you just figure it out. So it's turned into this business, yeah.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Where in Rockville is it at?
So we're just over on South Lawn Lane. So
does it have an Instagram page?
Yeah, Instagram page is at Arrington TD or ATD Soccer, one or the other. I don't keep up with the social media. Somebody else manage all that.
No, I'm pretty sure you're a busy man. Such a busy man. Have you met Wayne Rooney?
I have.
How is he like?
Nice guy. He's a nice guy. He's very serious about what he's doing, and it seems that he's got a clear direction in terms of where he wants to take the team and the club. He's very much invested in youth. I think we've seen that already. He's brought in a number of kids from the academy and from the Loudon team into his sessions so he can see them. And he's played a number of kids. Just recently signing Matai Akimboni, who I coached for the last 2-3 years in the academy.
No, congrats. Also, I mean, name some players that have made it already with DC #1 team.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Matai is one of them. He's a massive one who I'm really, really proud of, both for him and his family. He's only 15 years old now, and he got a first team contract, and he started the game against Real Salt Lake two weeks ago, and was.
This was recent, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
I think it was around the same time frame where I contacted you. To join me with the podcast with Cello Views.
So now he's the third youngest player to ever play in the MLS.
That's history.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So
you're part of that.
Yeah, I don't. I guess humbly speaking, I don't take any credit for it. But just to be like a part of that of his experience, hopefully in a positive fashion, it's like that's
special.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it's special.
Super special. I mean, you're working with real individuals here who want to make it to pro.
Yeah.
Who are working with people like Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney is really not just anybody.
No.
What are some of his qualities that you like?
Well, again, you can
see. As
a player, I mean.
Because you're a coach too. What did you see? What do you see that people can learn from him?
Well, you can just see like his ambition. Obviously, coming into Everton, I think he was 15 at that point, 16 if I'm not mistaken. Coming into Everton and having that sort of immediate impact in his first game with Everton as a professional. I believe he scored at least one, and I'm probably butchering the story. I think he may have scored more than one. But obviously seeing where his career took off from that as a player, like his just continued growth, his commitment to getting better and being motivated to win and compete. And you could just see that in terms of how he played and how he battled and how he fought. And now you're seeing it as a coach, right? And I think having someone who came into that environment at such a young age, like him, he is now, fearless in the idea of bringing in players of that age into the environment where he is now coaching. He's like, if I could do it, anyone can do it. You know what I mean? Just give the kids a chance.
An opportunity. It's all about opportunities, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of opportunities out there, and I appreciate the opportunity of you coming. Sure. To Cello Views and sharing a lot of your knowledge behind the game. And, it's a pleasure to have you here once again. I'm wondering if it will be okay for us to come out there and, see how the U15 train or anything you can show me, and so that people can see what you're about, where DC United really is about. And, the fan base right now, especially with MLS, it's picking up. I mean, MLS is becoming very known. I mean, Europe, of course, has its lengths.
course.
But MLS is right behind it.
Yeah.
You know, would it be great? Would it be okay for us to come out sometime next week?
Of course.
Take a look at it.
I think it would be good. You know, you can come and obviously see what our environment looks like. You can see how we run sessions. You can you know, see how our coaches operate, how our players play. I mean, we've got some really special talent in every age group. And I think it will give you a sense of kind of what we're all about, how we try to create a culture in the academy. And yeah, I mean, I'm always open for people to come watch. I think it's massively important being, you know, in the MLS club in the area that you are open and that you are, you know, again, inviting others to come and learn as well as allowing us to learn from them. So, yeah.
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity for sure. Definitely be more than happy to come by. Sure. And what is your goal?
Oh, what is my goal? I don't know. It seems like it's ever changing. You know, if you asked me a few years ago, I think it would have been absolutely to coach at the professional level and to be at, you know, in a first team staff, whether it's an assistant coach or a head coach or what have you. I think that's still an ambition of mine, but I am certainly very happy where I am right now. I like working with these kids. I like working at this level. I feel like you can have a very direct impact on all these guys and helping them grow and become, you know, contributing members of society and such. So I'm okay with where I am right now. I like the level and the role I have, but yeah, I'm always open to other opportunities in front of me and working at higher levels if they come. But I also understand how difficult that is and what a commitment that is. So I don't say that lightly.
Special message you want to give to the youth, to the upcoming generation, anybody that is struggling? Mm-hmm. What is the special message you want to give out to the listeners today?
I think it's not as simple as just, you know, keep going or work hard. Like, I think those are givens, right? Mm-hmm. If you know what you want, if you have a goal, then you need to look at others who are maybe in the position that you aspire to be in. And you need to be critical and analytical and understand how they got there and understand how they operate and what they've done. And if it's as simple as like, oh, I want to be a pro soccer player someday, then you need to not just look at the glitz and glamour of being a pro, but you need to look at what those players are doing behind the scenes, where they've come from, how they eat, how they train, you know, how they sleep. I mean, all those pieces, and then try to, again, model yourself and your habits as best you can based on what they do. And at the end of the day, there will be many things that are out of your control. There'll be things that, you know, coaches will make decisions that are out of your hands. You need to worry about what you can control and focus on yourself. And regardless if you have a goal, continue to push and give yourself every opportunity possible.
Very special message. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time here with Settle Views. It's been a pleasure. Mm-hmm. It's come to an end. Once again, Matt Arrington with DC United U15 Academy team. Thank you so much once again. If you guys want to follow him, what's the Instagram once again? I don't know if you know it off the head, but...
You can follow me. How about that?
What is that?
Follow me. It's AMAT57. Nothing special, nothing fancy.
No, simple as that. Once again, Matt Arrington, thank you so much for being here. Yeah. Again, we're here at Airpark Soccerplex. If you guys are looking to play some pickup soccer, you're more than welcome to come here in Gaithersburg at Airpark Soccerplex.
It's a nice spot. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. Settle Views off the air.